So, hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS. Now, Sunya IAS has brought for you something very exciting, something very innovative, something which everyone was demanding for a very long time. You must be already aware that we have already come up with our enrichment course for the PSIR for Political Science and International Relations, okay, for 2023 examination. What's the next step? Immediately we announced it, we started getting a lot of calls. Sir, वो तो ठीक है, where is the foundation? What for the 2024? Shall we take the enrichment only? So I was like, nahi baba, if you are preparing for 2024, obviously the only the enrichment thing won't work for you. And obviously we were in process. So here is the thing, here is the foundation for 2024. Okay. So if you are watching this session, bear with me, we are going to discuss this course. I'm not only going to tell you the what does specifically we are going to offer you, but also for your basic understanding. If you are new and if you are going to start your PSR preparation, this session will be very helpful. Okay, now what, how, where and when to start political science preparation? These are few of the questions which everyone get a lot confused with. Okay, पढ़ना तो है लेकिन कब पढ़ें सर, 12th में ही तो हूँ अभी, ऐसे कॉल्स भी आते हैं कई बार हमारी टीम को कि वी लाइक आई एम इन 12th स्टैंडर्ड राइट नाउ, आई एम बिट कंफ्यूज, शैल आई टेक पॉलिटिकल साइंस क्लासेस राइट नाउ? लाइक देख लो, समझ लो पहले. सो दैट्स वाई दिस क्लास इज ऑल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू, दैट दिस ऑल इशूज विल बी रिजॉल्व इन दिस सेशन. Acha, if you're watching this thing, make sure that you like the video and also comment, because the thing is that many a time you might watch it and you might have a sociology optional or anthropology optional or maybe economics optional or mathematics optional, but a friend or a colleague of yours or someone whom you are familiar with might be needing the help of this particular video. So it video will reach to those people. That's a responsibility I am laying on you guys. Okay, so make sure you do that, forward it, share it, whatever tools and tricks you have. Okay, let's move forward. Let's start with what exactly we are going to do. So first of all, we have to discuss a very fundamental thing of political science. Now let me tell you, this is the most interesting topic you will ever come in front of ever. Okay, whether you are at gaon ka chaupal or you are at United Nation, okay, the very thing which is talked about is how the world is running. Okay, और अगर आप यूपी के हैं और बिहार के गांव के चौपाल पे हैं तो वो ब्रह्मांड पूरा कर देंगे, लेकिन ठीक है अभी आप ये बात करते हैं. ठीक है, सो अंडरस्टैंड दिस थिंग कि भाई पॉलिटिकल साइंस एंड इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन आर द टॉपिक्स विच आर मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. ओके, एज आई वाज जस्ट टेलिंग यू, आप गांव के चौपाल पे होंगे तो वहाँ भी यही बात हो रही होगी कि व्हाट व्लादिमीर पुतिन इज गोइंग टू डू इन यूक्रेन. ओके, सो पीपल आर दैट मच अवेयर, बट as someone who is going to or is aspiring to work for the government, okay, who is going to or aspiring at least as of now to become a civil servant, this is very essential that you know that how, when and where to start the preparation for civil service examination. So let's proceed. Let me tell you few of the basic things. Okay, now for UPSC, if you are appearing in the mains examination, there are two papers for optional subject. Okay, paper 1 and paper 2 in political science and international relation. Political science as in theory portion of the whole political ideology is one section of the paper 1. The second section of paper 1 contains the whole idea of Indian government and politics, Indian constitution, Indian nationalism, all the women movements, everything, all the constitutional institutions, statutory body, how our government work from administration to governance, everything comes on that section. Then we jump on to paper number 2, which entails international relations, again in two parts. Part 1 talks about comparative politics and a bit of theory of international relation, and the second part of paper 2 talks about international relation, the current events, and it is expected that you use your basic knowledge of all the prior 3 sections to come up with innovative and good answers in the paper 4, which is highly dynamic. Okay, a lot of people always think कि सर ये तो हो जाएगा current affairs, but that is important. So let's start how you will entail, how you will tackle all these questions, all these areas of from question. Now a lot of people have this very simple and very serious question also: why to opt for pol science? For the very first thing, PSIR optional क्यों लें? Why we are even bothered to take PSIR optional? सिंधी लिटरेचर ले लेते हैं. ओके, सिंधी लिटरेचर ले लेंगे, हो जाएगा काम. ठीक है, लेकिन नहीं, there are more important things, because if you opt for any other subject, I have nothing against Sindhi literature, it's a good option, okay, few people opt for it, but I'm just telling you that if you are opting for anything specifically, okay, or any other subject, you will not be benefited that much, not only in the preparation phase but also in the implementation phase. Bhai, you are giving this examination not only with the intention to pass this examination, but also the organization, the institution which is making you to take this examination wants you to be prepared for a upcoming job. And what's the job's need? The need of the job is either you will be the representative of the state on the ground, the very first important person in a sense. Okay, you are either going to be a superintendent of police, you are going to be district magistrate, you are going to be even in the initial training position, you will also be the Lekhpal. But even at that position, you need to understand that you have to be the representative of the state on the ground. Okay, unless and until you have the understanding of the constitution, you are well versed in the working of the way is of the constitution, not only in the legal term, wo to lawyer bhi kar lega, but also the historical context, the political context, you won't be able to do much on the ground. For that purpose it is required. Okay, for examination oriented purpose, you need to understand that your one thing saying as front that 500 marks are there, this is very important. But what beyond that? Okay, what beyond that is something that even in your GS paper 1, GS paper 2, GS paper 3, GS paper 4, everywhere it is very important. In GS paper 1 there is a whole section called as society, called as some idea of post independence history. Unless and until even I'll tell you this thing, if this for students who are preparing for post independence history in GS paper 1, they are told to read a book which is 12th standard political science NCERT. Now that shows the relation, the importance of political science, that you are directly told that look, you read the political science 12th standard book, that is the easiest way to prepare your post independence history. So from that section you will have at least 3 to 4 questions in your GS paper 1, and that will directly help you here. Similarly, by the end of this session, I will actually, before ending the session, I'll also show you the questions that in 2022, what were all the questions which have come in paper 1, paper 2, paper 3 and paper 4 of GS, which could be directly handled through the knowledge of political science. We will, summarizing the chapter, this whole session, I will show you that also. In GS paper 2, to Baba, the whole subject, the whole list of the question, all the 20 questions are directly doable if you have a very good understanding of political science and international relations. Let me tell you that. There are 5 direct questions from international relations, 4 or 5, sometime 5, sometime 4. Last year it was 5. All those questions are easily tackleable if you have the basic understanding of political science and international relations. The initial 15 question, whether the question is on CBI, whether the question is on CBI as an institution of the state, okay, or whether the question is on the vice president's power, which was asked in 2022, okay, all these things could be easily tackleable if you have the understanding of political science. Similarly, if you move to GS paper 3, you have a twist of mixture of science and tech, a bit of economics also, okay. Now, the economics also is more oriented towards human economics. Now, in human development, human economics is talked about. Again, the understanding of organizations like WTO, okay, or understanding of organizations like GATT, of huge importance of UN and various UN organizations are important, which are again discussed in great detail with all the political histology through in the political science international topics. So that will be useful for you. GS paper 4, GS paper 4 तो बाबा ऐसा है कि there have been instances when direct questions of political science have been asked. For example, in political science we teach a topic within the concept of justice, and the topic talks about what? That topic talks about Rawls' theory of justice. There has been a scholar, now he's passed away in 2014 or somewhere, his name is John Rawls. John Rawls came up with the idea of justice. His concept of justice talks about justice as fairness. Now we are not going to go into detail of that, but the idea is that that very concept of Rawls' theory of justice, it is very important, very pertinent. We have very much it's influenced in throughout the early phase of the 2000s. That very concept have been asked directly somewhere around 2016 or 2017 ethics paper. Otherwise also, if you have the ideas, if you have the understanding of Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, all these things are taught to you in Indian political thought, as well as you have the idea of what the Greek political thought leaders back in the day, in the Greek times or ancient Greek times, that is Plato, Aristotle, so all these people have stated, that can always give you additional fodder for writing your answer. So paper 4 is covered that way. Even in essay, and let me tell you, for example, in 2022, section A of the essay paper, essay again has two parts, I hope you are aware that much. Section A had a question that says that something on the lines of that the scientific man always win against the romantic man. Okay, something on these lines. I'm paraphrasing the statement, but it is something on the scientific man always wins against the against a romantic man. Now, if you have any conceptuality of Hegelian idea, what Hegel has stated, okay, so you will be able to understand and write the very good answer of this. If you have the understanding of Hegel and Hegel's idea, Hegel's opinion of spirit of history, and then you have some basic idea of realism, these one of the concept is taught to you in paper 1 of political science, and one concept realism is taught to you in paper 2 of political science. You will be able to answer these questions in an excellent manner, in a far better manner than anyone else will be able to write if he or she has taken any other optional subject. Let me tell you that. Similarly, section B has a question, and again this question was something like you cannot put your same feet in the you cannot put your feet in the same water twice or the same river twice. Okay, you cannot put your feet in the same river twice. So now this is actually a statement by Heraclitus. And the idea behind asking this question in essay paper was that you need to understand at least the constraint of the time and all. That one phase cannot, that what is gone and gone, you cannot redo the same thing in the same time. Okay, you should be aware of it and use your time, your spacing, your ecosystem, your environment very diligently. That is where the essay was coming from. That is what you needed to be built on. But who came up with these ideas for the very first time? This is actually a statement of Heraclitus. Heraclitus was an ancient Greek scholar who was there before even Socrates. Fine. And this is very famously called as the Heraclitus flux theory, which is taught to you in pre-Socratic history of Greece, which is the very first point where we start our political science and international relations topic. Almost the very first class is something where we will talk about these things. Heraclitus, his flux theory, his whole idea, other Babas who have influenced Socrates and Plato and Aristotle like Parmenides and all, we'll discuss about them, and this is where we'll discuss all these things. So, in a very generic sense, if you are very pragmatic, if you are very realistic and you are focusing just on ki abhi kaise paper ho jaye, how I am going to crack this examination, political science will be the most relevant and most helpful topic for you. And this is actually one of the main reason why so many people opt for political science and international relations. Okay. Someone can come up and someone can tell you always that look, the maximum percentage or maximum number percentage wise thing, weightage ratio wise thing is from any specific subject. So let me tell you that weightage, if I start speaking about weightage ratio, the best possibility of you getting selected is if you opt actually for animal husbandry. But I totally understand that most of the people would not like to opt for animal husbandry. The reason is the course is difficult to get into and you need to have a prior understanding to get into that. So in a general parlance, what is the best subject which is available to you and you can use it to prepare in the most defined manner, which will also help you in the long term. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And that is PSIR, Political Science and International Relations. Okay, keep this thing in mind and let's move forward. Now, once I expect I have assured you that PSIR is the option you should go for. Let's move forward and let's discuss about where to start PSIR optional preparation. So there are certain do's and don'ts. Okay. So very first thing is you need to understand what is the prerequisite of this job, civil services. First of all, Keep this thing in mind. This is actually the most important thing even before you start your civil service preparation. Leave about optional selection and all that. And the very important thing over here is this fact that, look, understand, it is just a job at the end of the day, like any other job. If you're going to appear for Google, if you're going to go and give an interview for maybe Tesla, or you are going to join maybe an AI firm, as of now they are very current in all over hip thing. Over there also, the very first thing will be asked to you that, okay, we are not looking for someone too meritorious, we are looking for someone who is a perfect fit, isn't it? As an institution, as an organization, if I have to take someone in, I am looking not for someone who is just excellent. No, I am looking for someone who is capable of doing the task I have assigned for him or her. That is what any institution, any organization is looking for. So first of all, you need to have a very rudimentary only. Initially, you will have rudimentary only, but you need to have some basic idea about what civil services is looking for. ठीक है, रोडीज मत बनाइए इसको कि बस आगे प्रिपरेशन कर लेंगे कुछ हो जाएगा. Fine. So keep this thing in mind. Now, what they are actually looking for. As I was telling you a few minutes back, that they are looking in the sense that you have certain parts to play while being in service, any civil servant. The initial few years, you will be the representative of the state on the ground, either as I told you, as a superintendent of police, as a tax collector, or as a district magistrate. Initial few years, okay, you will be on the ground. But after 9 or 10 or 12 years, you will more oriented towards a policy making side. Okay, you will never find a joint secretary or a deputy secretary or a secretary roaming around the road resolving people's problem. So therefore, you need to be aware of both the sides. You need to be very quick, that if in case you are on the ground, you should be able to communicate, you should be able to carry on a conversation, you should be able to know everything around you, situation wise. But at the same time, you should be capable also to handle the workload. Okay, handle the file load, and that is maybe the most pertinent reason why they also make you write such extensive mains examination. Now, I just want to add in this list that if you know political science and international relation, you exactly what I was telling you in the starting, you will be aware of political reasoning, political thought, political theory, okay, of all the reasoning why and how our state is the way it is. The historical context, okay, the philosophical reasoning, the sociological situation, and the international pressures. And if you will be aware of all these things, you will be able to tackle the situations in front of you in a better way, isn't it? And that is why the whole idea about taking political science. Now, once you have decided, you know the prerequisite, you know, okay, how political science will help you and what is the demand of civil services examination by UPSC, you need to understand and you need to go to first of all the previous year question papers. Now, I totally understand this thing that the very first day if I am telling you that go through the PYQs, it will not make any sense to you, and I want you to have the feeling that it won't make any sense to you. That is also totally fine. You go through the pages, you will just learn, okay, fine, they have asked, अरे क्या लिखा है, क्या पूछ दिया, constitution, ये क्या होता है. That is fine. Okay, that is totally fine. I and on any serious faculty will not want you to get depressed or anything while starting the preparation, but you should be aware what you are getting yourself into. Okay, so you need to go through the PYQ in the first week, not first day, it's fine, but first week of your preparation. Now, I am not expecting you that you go into the book and you start trying to write answer immediately. That is not required, but you should be aware and you should always keep on looking into the PYQ. Always keep the PYQs in reference because it's a very basic mandate. Okay, you all again, this is something I should tell you, that if you bring the biggest expert of the world about any specific topic and tell that person also that please frame a paper for the incoming aspirants, even that person will ask you that, okay, could you please tell me the syllabus, defined syllabus. Or could you please tell me, show me what kind of questions you have been asking in the previous years? And the questions are very logical and nominal only, because look, that person might be a great scholar of his particular concerned subject, but if he'll start asking about very detailed topic from his concerned subject, no one will be aware of that. That is not the demand. Okay, so demand have been constrained within, the easiest way to understand the constraints of the demand is by going and going through the PYQs. That's the easiest way, and that is what you need to do. So make sure you do that thing. Then one more thing, a lot of students always get a lot confused ki, when should I start preparing for political science? Okay, so fundamental idea, very important. It is expected that you should have some basic foundational idea about Indian history, world history, okay, and a bit of Constitution of India before jumping into political science classes. If you are coming out of nowhere, if you suppose you have just finished off your engineering, it is actually suggestible that you take the, I'm not saying that you have to go into like 10 months course before jumping into a political science course, but you need to at least go for at least a week period, a week long time into NCRT readings of your basic subjects, and then jump into or then come to the political science classes. Okay, because in the political science classes this will do happen that in between some teacher will tell you, not only me but anyone will tell you, okay, so the American War of Independence happened and because of it these are the civil liberties with the this particular community of people got. Now he will be expecting that you know what American War of Independence was. Okay, but if you are not aware, it might create a difficulty. So that small period, like a week long period where you go through a basics of history, just NCRT reading or bit of a polity, that is required. Okay, then it is also expected that if you are starting your preparation, make sure, because the next year in May your examinations are there. Okay, your preliminary examination 2024 I am pushing for right now, if though this is specifically I am explaining for 2024 students. So just make sure that you start your preparation in such a manner that the theoretical part which you have to read, that should be finished by October 2023. Let me tell you why. Because you also have to, like, just doing the theory section, just coming to classes won't make you capable of answering the questions directly. If anyone says just by coming to the classes it will be done, that's not how it works. Fine. You need to attend the classes, you need to write your papers, practice papers, and then you have to do a lot of revisions. And for that purpose, while doing all this, you also have to work on your GS optionals or GS papers, and you also have work on your essay paper and all those different things. And then by the month of January or February, you will again be threatened, oh, prelims aa gaya. Preliminary examination is here, so you will be almost petrified. So just to make sure that before that time comes in, when you yourself, in rightly so, you will be like, okay, let me do everything else later on, let me just start the prelims. Before that you should be done with your optional, at least the standard classes and note making and all those things. So do that part. Fine. Now once this much is clear, you also need to focus on how to write your answers appropriately, because whole ball game ends into a 2-3 hour long sessions in which you have to actually write down everything. No matter how well you understood what Plato stated, or no matter how well you understood that how postmodernism impacts the feminist theory, unless and until you are able to tabulate it on a sheet of paper, fark nahi padta, doesn't really matter. And therefore you should be in a very mandatory stage by the examination, by the mains examination time, that you are capable of writing at least 3 hours in a single go, more than almost 15,000 words, okay, in a day. If that much capable you are, then it will work. Now let me tell you, 5 to 6,000 word is something, if you are writing on a daily basis, that is more. But if I'm telling you to write, capable of writing 15,000 word in a day, because in the final day of the preparation, when you actually have to write almost 10,000 word, you will be also working under huge pressure. So how you will train yourself that you can write that many words in a single day? And that also not random words. Salman Khan ki story mat likhna. That also, that over there you have to write proper answers. For that you have to be in a habit of answer writing. So answer writing also plays a very important part. Okay. Now, so those are the important things first of all you need to know. Now, obviously you know that Sunya, once this thing I have told you that okay, why you have to prepare. Okay. First of all, why PSIR, then how you will prepare, and now what we will be able to provide you. So because understand this thing that in any place, anywhere, okay, the basic idea over here is this. If you are preparing for your civil service examination and you have taken PSIR optional already, or you have decided to take PSIR optional already, okay, there are few things you should be very clear about. Wherever you are preparing, okay, if you are attending any sessions, if you are not attending, preparing on your own also, then I'm also quite sure that you will arrange from here, there, somewhere, some faculty's notes or some faculty's videos or something you will do. So all the important things is that you need to go through some of the literature, okay, and this literature will be in the form of lecture, okay. So lectures, these lectures could be offline or online depending on your and the teachers. Just give me a moment. Your and teachers availability. What is happening? Fine. Now then you also will be needing study material. Whenever you are told about study material, there are two basic things. Either you will be given a standard set of notes. Most of the time those set of notes are incomplete, okay. Those set of notes are either incomplete or too less or too generic, okay. They are either incomplete or too less or too generic. Why I'm saying this? It will be too less most of the time. Why? Because obviously anyone will assure you ki baba this is minimum thing you have to read. But the problem with minimum reading is you have to mug up each and every line of it. Otherwise it won't be useful. If you are going to mug up each and every line, then everyone can do that thing. Almost all the students. Then where is the difference? At the end of the day, this is a exam. It's more of a competitive examination. So it will become too generic. Everyone will be writing almost the same thing. So where you are going to score more? And in this race, then you will be depressed, you will be irritated, and you will do what? You will say like, let me open the standard books. The moment you will say about standard books, you will be told this listing. This is just the listing of the books which is provided to students if they want to read on their own. This is not the whole topic, this is just the name of the book. Each line is a name of book. For all the 4 parts, paper 1, 2 section and paper 2, 2 sections, this is just the listing of the books. This is again just too much. This will again make your life hell. And this is frankly not doable in 3, 4, 5 months period. Okay? Okay? So that you have to keep in mind. So then what's the solution? And the solution is this only, that okay, then that's the solution. We'll come to a solution, but 2 more things. Half of the time you won't in the classes also get stressed a lot. Classes are usually, look, I'll tell you this thing on here itself. Every time, everywhere, every faculty tells you that they will finish off their optional subject, and not only of PSIR, political science, but almost all the hefty, important, big optional subject, whether it is sociology or geography or political science. The faculties around the around India will tell you that we'll wrap it up in 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and it goes up to 1 year. Why it happens? It is not also the wrong. Its faculty is not at wrong. They know the thing, and they also want to wrap up the things as soon as possible. The problem is the writing part. They also want to teach the students in the best way possible. The problem with teaching the student in the best way possible is to provide them all the material in the class. When the teacher starts dictating the portion, then the problem starts. Because a class which could be wrapped up very easily in 2 hours, if you will start dictating that same thing, it will go to 4.5 hour class. And then the whole schedule of the batch gets into a dustbin. Okay? Chali. So this handout thing is could be a solution for that. But half of the places you will be told that acha handouts milenge, you will get the handouts, but half of the handouts you get, half of you don't get. Or for half of the topics you get, for few of the topics you won't get. Then you misplace them because you only have a few handouts, then you are referring to other material also, and this and that. Fair way problem. And finally, as I was telling you, the test series, but test series again is something you will be given separately, and it will be again be chargeable and this and that. Huge issues there. Which test series to do, how long the test series should go, lot of issues are there. So half of the time students are confused in this whole ball game only, what to do, what not to do, which thing to take, which not to take, what to refer, what not to refer, what topics lecture you have seen, what you still have to see, how visible or viable the lectures are. All these issues are there, and the solution is here. Okay, the solution is something which the Sunya IAS bought for you, and it's here that first of all you will be given 300 plus hours of lectures. Now these lectures will be available in both online and offline mode. So if you are in Delhi, there will be offline classes, 2.5 hour long each session, and we will take more than almost 124, 125, 130 lectures. So it will go plus of 300 hours. Okay, so 300 plus of hours of lectures, which will cover all the topics in detail. Okay, and then as I was telling you that you also be facing a lot of problem with books, what to refer, what not to refer. So for that we have made very simple arrangement. That is what we have already been doing with the Sunya IAS platform for GS subjects, that we have brought 2 books for PSIR optional. Okay, one for each paper. PSIR paper number 1, there is 1 book, and paper number 2, there is 1 book. Okay, we will also provide you a separate book just on PYQ for the past 8 years. So between 2015 and 2022, you will have a standard books which will have a standard set of answers. Now these answers won't be just like a statement, a question, and then an approach written, or neither it will be the 3-page of model answer. I've seen this thing happening a lot of time, that question is there and the name of model answer, students are given 3-page of potha. And now that is so much literature that the student is not frankly appearing for a PhD examination, okay, or a verbal fight with someone that he should know all these arguments. No, that's not. He's not going for a debate session. He's going where it's already mentioned that no answer has to be written in more than 250 words or 300 words max. Okay, the 20 markers also are expected to be wrapped up in 250 words. So under those circumstances, the easiest way is that the PYQ book will have standard answers. In your classes also, in your handouts also, people who have attended my sessions, they know that we already tackle all the PYQs in the session itself, the previous year questions, making sure that you know well enough that not only the PYQs, the topics which have been asked in the examinations are yet already been covered in the classes, but you also get an idea that how what is taught in the class is usable in your examination. Fine. So keep that thing in mind. So these set will be provided to you. Acha, every class will also be given a handouts. So there won't be any class without a handout. Okay, this is, frankly speaking, this is true, that if I'll make you write each and everything, the subconscious works like this, that you will be able to understand and carry that information in a better way. That's a reality. But then we have a constraint of a time also. And to resolve this issue, we have made sure that we will be providing you pre-written handout with all the diagram, all the charting, okay, all the every other perspective of that, all the segregation, distinguish between type questions, okay, all everything will be provided to you in form of diagram and all those things, and written pointers also. As of now also, if you want, you can go to our Telegram channels, and every day there is either two PYQs are posted, or some of the diagrams or charts or examples are given there, so you can have a look of that to give you better idea. Those sheets, those pointers are usually from the class handouts only. Okay, so those handouts will make your classes bit smaller in size. Okay, so the number of hours can be saved there, making sure that the classes will be finished on time. And then finally, the test papers, the test series. This is again very important, and I suggest those students who are appearing in 2024, they should go for a 24 test series, 24 test mock test series, in which they will have 16 mock test and 8 complete test. I'll come to the test series also in a minute, and I'll explain that thing, that how it works and what all you have to prepare. So what all we have discussed till here? We have discussed till here that basically we will focus our concept on the basis of the PYQs, and then at Sunya we will make sure that we will start by gradually introducing you to the different ideological concept of paper 1 section A. I am more of an opinion that your syllabus obviously officially starts with the writing on Plato and Aristotle. But Plato himself wrote about Socrates. So, lot of time questions come from there also. Okay. So, you are usually taught about Socrates a bit. But to understand Plato, Socrates and Aristotle, you also are expected to know about the earlier pre-Socratic scholars. So, if you'll check out, we'll start the topics from the pre-Socratic scholars itself, making sure that you have in detail idea, okay, of all the ideologies, and then we move to the Middle Ages, the Renaissance period, and subsequently to the modern phase. Each concept, each and every theory, whether it is from the ancient time or from the modern times or from the immediate current times, will be introduced to you in the most fluid and lucid manner, making sure that it will make sense to you. Then we'll also have detailed discussion on public policy initiatives and judicial precedent. This is actually very important. What happens in most of the time whenever anyone is teaching about Indian constitution, or maybe something, suppose in the paper 1 section B IGP class is going on, and someone is teaching you about maybe Panchayati Raj, okay, every now and then there is some new judicial precedent, judicial judgment comes in, which then acts as a precedent obviously for Panchayati Raj reason, or maybe like something happened in Article 370, then something else happened in Article 371, various subsections of the Article 371. How they are implemented, what are the caveats, okay, and where exactly government is trying to nudge the thing, change the thing, bring changes over the period of time, what purposes are they serving. All these things have to be discussed through policy initiative of the government, which are usually not given that much importance, because you are usually taught कि अच्छा these are the rules, this is the constitution, अच्छा section पढ़ लेना, sometime तो you are even told कि लक्ष्मीकांत पढ़ लेना, तो वैसे नहीं होता, ठीक है. So we have to do it in a very proper sense. We will do it here. Then detailed discussion on comparative approach and the theories of international relations. Huge amount of people get confused, so much so in comparative politics. On the other side, comparative politics is the most easiest of the thing. I will suggest you that I have taken some of the lectures, or I will take few of the lectures on YouTube only for comparative politics and all, to make sure that you understand, okay, that these things are not that difficult also as they are made to believe. Okay, the various model, whether it is structural functional approach model or its system theory model or some other variation of system theory, it is not that difficult. There are huge number of examples around the world which you can use to understand these concepts, and they are doable. So we'll be doing it. Okay. Most updated discussion of international relation, as well as over here is the theory of international relations. Again, a huge number of problem, a big problem for the students is the theoreticians of international relations are missing. Who are the theoreticians of international relation? Those who write usually in the newspapers? No, those are the commentators. Actually, there are huge number of political theorists who are working specifically in the field of international relations, and about them we usually don't even know. We always keep on quoting the scholars who we read in our Indian Express and Hindu. As long as you are writing GS papers, that totally acceptable. That is totally acceptable. But the moment you jump into optional studies, it is expected that you upgrade your level of references also. Fine. So over there, we will make sure that international relation theorist will be provided to you. Then most updated discussion on international relation, again, because these periods are very important. So unless and until you need you have a basic understanding of the history of the international relation, as in how India Pakistan or India Russia or India America relation has evolved right from 1947 till date, you won't be able to move forward and predict what is going to happen in the future. So not only the current set of events, but also the history of international relation, as well as prediction for the future, that will be done in the class itself. So that's what we have to do. And in the very mid of everything is our previous year questions. As I told you that in the classes itself, the discussions will be there and the booklets will be provided to you. That will be very helpful. So that these things will make sure that we can wrap up the syllabus in the easiest, quickest manner, making sure that you have develop the understanding to write the answers also. So that will be done. Let's move forward, and let me tell you now some basic important things for those students who are watching this session, with the understanding that we will also be talking about some of the orientation wise thing, that what exactly entails in the subject, which subject sections of the subject are important. Those things we'll be discussing here. So for example, you'll see that what entails political science and international relations as a subject. We have to go to the political theory. We have to go to the political thought. Now political thought have evolved in various parts of world. Let me tell you, if you go to South Korea, they will have a Korean political thought. If you go to China, you'll have a Chinese political thought. If you go to South Africa or any other place in Uganda or Kenya or Nigeria, they will have an African political thought. But obviously, we don't have to read all these political thoughts. What we have to focus on? We have to focus on first few things. For example, Western political thought, which will entail the ancient Greek times, and then subsequently right from post Renaissance, that is Machiavelli and forward. And once you are wrapped up that section, then you can jump on Indian political thought, where you will have the ancient understanding from right times of Arthashastra and Buddhist thought, and subsequently in the modern times, whatever happened through national movement and all those things will be covered in later period, and ideas of Ambedkar, ideas of Aurobindo Ghosh, ideas of Gandhi, ideas of Syed Ahmad Khan needed to be brushed up again, and that will be done in Indian political thought here. Then we have a whole section of Indian government and politics, as I told you, and we also have a section on international relation and comparative politics. Now this is a single slide which shows you all of the topics which have to be covered for political science international relation, without dividing them into the parts of section A, section B. Sometimes this reference is also required, so it will make a holistic picture view. Section A, section B करके तो पढ़ ही लेंगे, ठीक है? So this is, that's why it's done here. Now let's jump into the syllabus wise thing. Now on your screen is actually written the main set of names of scholars, main topics which have to be covered in paper 1 section A. Now paper 1 section A, political theory and Indian political thought, we will officially is written from Indian political theory, then theories of state, justice, equality, rights, democracy, concept of power, hegemony, ideology, legitimacy, political various ideologies, socialism, liberalism, Marxism, fascism, Gandhi's ideas, Gandhiism, and then feminism. And then Indian political thought comes into Dharm Shastra, Arthashastra, Buddhist tradition, Syed Ahmad Khan, Aurobindo, Western political thought, Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke. Now in this listing also, this is the listing how it is given on UPSC's website also. This is the listing which is also provided to you if you go for IGNOU or any standard material you will refer, which is available easily from the government side. But the easiest way to start reading these things is a bit different. Look, the approach which the global scientists, scholars have taken is the historical approach. That is, through the perspective of important personalities whose work have influenced our society, we start reading things. So we will start reading things from the perspective of the scholars only, and therefore we will start from the ancient time of the Western scholars. So we'll start from the pre-Socratic scholars, then we'll jump to Socrates, then we'll jump to Plato, then we'll jump to Aristotle, and their ideas, how and what they were trying to do with the state. Why Plato has given such a big theory, what he was trying to do? Bore ho rahe the ghar pe? Nahi. He was trying to make his city state, Athens, the best state, the best place to live. So all these scholars have a single point agenda, single point mandate, how to make their country. Back then country word was not used, but I'm sure but most of the people here won't be aware of the basic concept of a state. So I'm using that word. So all these people wanted to make their country perfect. They used a word called as eudaimonia, or we call that thing is a utopia. So these people were trying to make their country best, and that's why they were propounding these theories and these ideas. So we will read about these theories and these ideas through their perspective. Then we'll directly jump into the modern times, or post-medieval, post-Renaissance period. We will talk about Machiavelli. He was also mandated toward that idea only. Then we'll talk about Hobbes, then we'll talk about Locke, then we'll talk about Rousseau, the French scholar. Then we'll talk about J.S. Mill and various Kant, the German scholar, and a lot of more scholars which are there in your syllabus. Once we are done with that, then we'll focus on the various ideologies, and using those ideologies, various theory of states have been evolved. We'll focus on them. Once that theory of state, because theory of state is again focusing on what? How the state is mandated to run, what is the most efficient manner, how we should work in our society, in our culture, in our state, so that maximum people should get benefited. That is the ultimate aim. So यहाँ पे एक दूसरा concept आ जाएगा, utilitarianism. We will discuss about that. Similarly, after once done with these theory of state, theory of state and ideologies, then we'll jump into concepts like power, hegemony, legitimacy. Once done with that, then we can jump easily on the Indian political thought. Okay, what really was happening in these times in India? There are a lot of similarities between the Western political thought and Indian political thought. The ideas which were propounded by Machiavelli somewhere in 16th century were already stated by Kautilya in Arthashastra. So there is a lot of similarity. We will read about Kautilya's Arthashastra, and in Arthashastra the Saptang is mentioned, and other various features of Arthashastra also will go through. Fine, we will do those things. Similarly, the Buddhist scholars, they have a lot of idea how the state should run. We'll read that. When we'll be reading about Gandhi, we'll also compare the Buddhist idea with the Gandhi's ideas, and we'll see that what are the similarities in there. We'll talk about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. While talking about Syed Ahmad Khan, we'll get to know that what he actually stated. What's the origin of two-nation theory? What Syed Ahmad Khan's perspective was on Hindus and Muslims and the cultural unity, or whatever the basic idea over there is. We will look into that. So this is how, doing this, we will finish off the very first section of your PSIR optional. Section A, part paper 1, section A. Post this, we need to understand that how and what amount of questions are asked from which section. So as I was telling you, that we will start from Western political thought leaders, Western political scholars, and we are doing so because the maximum number of questions are asked from there. I have used the paper of 2013 and 2022 and made this segregation that in these 9 years, which all part of the paper section has given how many questions. So usually a generic thing is almost 1/5 of the paper comes from Western political thought. Scholars like Aristotle, Plato, Scholar like Machiavelli, Hobbes, J.S. Mill, Rousseau, Gramsci, Marx. These are the people from where 20% or 1/5 of the paper is asked from. The paper 1, not paper 2, paper 1. Or the 1/5 means 1/5 of this whole section. Then political theory 6%, theory of state 7%, justice 7%. This is the division you should be very aware of, so that while preparing you should know which topic you have to give how much focus. Okay, I can exactly tell you that in feminism what are the topics which are going to be important, what are in justice, what are the topics are going to be important. As I was telling you few minutes back, Rawls' idea of justice, that is the most important thing. If you have a basic definition of justice and you know about Rawls' idea of justice and you are aware of some of the main debates between the Rawls' idea of justice and then the Michael Sandel's idea, you will be able to tackle the questions. If you know a bit about Plato's observation and then Aristotle's idea of observation, it will be even better. That is what you have to focus on. This is how you need to do your syllabus. Now let's coming to the paper 1 section B, which is specifically about Indian government and politics. And if you'll see on the listing chart, right from the Indian nationalism, so a lot of section over here is talking about the period of Indian national movement, the Satyagraha time period, the civil disobedience movement, the non-cooperation movement, the last 1940s phase, militant and revolutionary movement, and then subsequently the peasant and workers movement, basically focusing on the real people on the ground. So these things are very important. This will be done in the classes in detail. This will also be cascading with your history, modern history section. So it will be helpful for you to make a better understanding of your modern history topics. Then we'll talk about making of the Indian Constitution, its legacies of British rule. We'll talk about Government of India Acts and various acts from right from 1861 till 1935, which have influenced the constitution we have right now. Then we'll also focus on salient features of Indian Constitution, right from the preamble. The preamble, what it was initially, then how it changed in 1976, the changes which were brought in, what are the significance of those changes, we'll discuss. What are the recent cases or judgment or precedents regarding preamble which have been given by Indian judiciary. Fundamental rights, an extensive topic. It will, the whole topic itself will, I think it takes about 5 to 6 hours just to complete fundamental rights. Because there are so many changes, so there are so many issues, there are so many legal jurisprudence wise, so many things to understand, to go through, that it will be helpful for you. Directive principles, again, we'll finish it off immediately after fundamental rights. Then similarly, judicial review, basic structure, Keshwan and Bharti case we'll read in extensive manner. I'll make sure to tell you the whole story of Keshwan and Bharti and what role Nani Palkhiwala played in that whole case. Otherwise it will not make much of a sense and later on it will be difficult to remember. Then principal organs of the government, grassroots democracy will focus. This is actually a very important topic which not only will help you in political science but also will help you in GS paper 1 and GS paper 2 and GS paper 3 or everywhere. Because deliberative we live in a democracy in which government is mandated to delegate more and more power over the period of time to the people on the ground. How it will be done? It will be done through the third tier, that is the Panchayati Raj system, and that is what we have to focus a lot more on. Statutory and commissions, okay, constitutional commission, those also are there, so we will focus on all of them. Right from election commission to the recent one, CBI. There have been so many cases on CBI as of now. You might be hearing about it. So we'll focus on that. What is the legitimacy of that organization, where it is coming from, why there is so much concern, and we'll be discussing about these things because these are the kind of stuff which are asked in examination. Federalism will focus on planning and economic development. Okay. Caste, religion, ethnicity in India, Indian politics. What role they have played, caste, religion, what role they can play in future. Okay, what is the standard mentioning on in constitution in our legal system regarding caste, regarding religion, or the differences on that. Over here itself, we'll also talk about reservation policy a bit. And then we'll talk about the party system, national and regional political parties, ideologies on which the parties are there. Very interesting thing about Indian politics is almost all the political parties have reached to a consensus that welfare state is the norm. We don't go to for economic conservatism. The last time we have a proper successful economic conservative party was which was made in 1959 and which was defunct in 1971. That was Swatantrata Party. We'll discuss about those experiments also, and I'll give you in detail idea why there is no economic conservative party present in India the way there is in Britain called as the Conservative Party, or there it is in America called as the Republican Party. Fine. Social movements, civil liberties and human rights movement, there are so many women's movements. There are so, for example, Narmada Bachao Andolan, Tehri Band movement. A lot of social movements are also the environmental movements. So there, although it's not directly mentioned here, environmental movements, but we need to go through them also. We'll be doing it. And obviously after this, we'll also be going through the PYQ that will give you a basic idea that where and how the questions will be asked. Now, the questions in the IGP section will be framed in such a manner that they will be asked from recent issues, but the pretext or the subtext will be from the standard theory. Fine. So that thing is something I will tell you in classes, that how it will be done. There is again the segregation given here. What are the most important topics here are the party system, almost 12% questions are asked from here, and the Indian constitution, almost 14% questions are asked from there. Fine. So accordingly you can put in some hours and you can divide which topic has to be read for how many time period. Then section A of the paper 2, that is comparative politics. As I was telling you a few minutes back, in comparative politics the bigger problem is people don't understand that what we have to read and what we can leave. There are a lot of limitations of comparative politics also, and let me tell you, if you focus on some of the standard reading, the questions from comparative politics are very straightforward. They don't tweak that much, but we only make a so much brawl around the whole concept. State in comparative politics, characteristic and changing nature of the state in capitalist and socialist economy. Will compare the countries around the world. I will make you do the whole task, as in you compare in the class as an exercise, and it will make sure that you will be able to remember the things. Similarly, approaches to study international relation, idealist, realist, Marxist, functionalist, system theory, all these will be discussed. Then key concept in international relation, the concept of national interest, security and power, balance of power, transnational actors. Okay, who are transnational actors? Organizations like Google, Tesla or Amazon, they are capable enough to tweak or bring policy changes in sovereign countries. Okay, every now and then there are some issue going on between these countries and for the privacy issue with the European Union. You must have heard about it. We will write those examples, we will go through in detail understanding of them, making sure that we know that these things are happening and how these organizations are trying to play a more important and controlling role in the global affairs. Then changing in international political order, rise of superpower. This is more of a historical context with this. The nuclear threat, the Cold War, all those things will be discussed. The role of non-aligned movement. You might have heard about non-alignment 2.0. We khatam ho gaya shuru okay. Now the idea of non-alignment has evolved into multi-alignment. Basically the non-alignment and multi-alignment is almost going on the same place. The only difference is the bigger player of the world, who were the part of Eastern and the Western bloc, have now joined, have now prepared themselves that the multi-alignment is the way forward for at least a few more years, for few more decades in the coming period. So we'll discuss about those things. Evolution of international economic system from Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 to forming of WTO, IMF, okay, and GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, and subsequently its evolution into World Trade Organization in 1995. What's the role of WTO? How it transformed after 2002 when China joined it? What is the role? As of now, you must have heard about the ongoing crisis between the China and the Australia regarding the trade facilities. Just for example, there is a worldwide consensus of the fact that look, the developed countries are the ones. Developed countries are the ones who are dealing in manufactured products, manufacturing and manufactured products. Developing countries are those who are usually the raw material supplier or the labor suppliers. Okay. But in this specific relationship of of China and Australia, you will see Australia, which is a developed country, is the raw material provider. And China, which is a developing country, is the one which is producing the manufactured goods. So how this change has been brought in, and what this change has shown us, that how the society is going to turn in the upcoming time. So that is also need to be studied, and those kind of ideas from the theoretical perspective will be covered in this chapter. Now, United Nations plays a very important role, and we'll be discussing about its needs and what are the important needs of United Nations and reform wise. What are India's agenda as a stakeholder? What we expect should be changed with the changes which should be brought in United Nations. We'll be discussing about that. Regionalization of the world politics, European Union, ASEAN, APEC, SAARC, their role. And not only these, let me tell you, these listings are not updated every year on the UPSC website. So although these are, suppose there's written SAARC, so SAARC will be taught to you. But SEO is not written over here. But SEO is now far more important. So it is understandable that we have to read those topics also, which are related to it, but not exactly it. So those will be covered here. Contemporary global concern, democracy, human rights, environmental issues, gender justice, terrorism, nuclear proliferation. These are something which were already mentioned. Few more will be adding on our own, something like a pandemic. So those will be done. Now once you are done with this, you can see that this is the chart which shows that how and where and how the questions will be asked. Okay. And let's move forward. We'll see the section B, India and the world. This is the very section which can be called as the hardcore international relations current issues. But here too, this is done in the last, making sure that you have already gone through the theory of political science or theory of whole of political science, not only international relations. So it is expected that you should use all the information provided to you in the paper 1 section A and paper 2 section A to further enrich your answer. That has to be understood, and that will be given to you along with all these topics covered in detail over here. Fine. If you will see here, you will see that the maximum number of questions usually come from the agenda of the Indian foreign policy. What are the Indian foreign policy's main agenda as a international stakeholder? What India's main concerns? What are the different avenues on which Indian government is taking action through the MEA? All those things will be discussed over here. Fine. So you should keep these things in mind. Now, once this is done, then so these things are explained. The prices and other details you can check it out, and I hope this must have helped you. Let's begin from here. Thank you and have a nice day.